Hi, everybody. It's Tom here. That was a wild and crazy end to last semester, wasn't it? All right. So now it's time to retrain, retool, think about what we're going to do this summer and in the fall. And as you have probably heard by now, in the summer, we are going to be all online. All the classes will be online. In the fall, it is looking at this point that we will do some sort of split, a blended class where we meet one day a week and other material is presented online. So we have to rethink how we are teaching our classes. Last summer, I took an instructional design course offered by Tulsa Community College. And what I want to share with you today are 4 of the many principles that I learned during that to kind of help you gear up and get ready to plan your new classes, okay? And I'm going to do that with an example from my TOEFL class that I am currently retooling and planning right now. This is the book. It's crazy because everything is backwards in the camera. You think you're going right and you're going left. So I'm going to show you kind of what I've been doing with my TOEFL class, how I've been going about preparing it. This video is part 1 of 2 because YouTube limits us to 15-minute videos. So I'm going to break this into 2 parts. And let me just switch over my screen and we will watch part 1. Part 1 will cover backwards design and interleaving. All right, here we go. Let's switch over. Okay, so the first principle we see here is backwards design. And what backwards design is, well, let me tell you what it isn't and how I used to teach my classes. And if you ask Ava, she can tell you all about this. What I would do is I would say, okay, we're at point A. Let's start walking toward point B. And I'd go into class and we'd start, maybe the topic was subject-verb agreement, and I'd start explaining subject-verb agreement, and then we'd have some practice, which would lead up to a test, and I would base the test off of what we had been doing in class. Backward design looks at it the other way. So what we do in backward design is we look at the end goal and we say, how do we get to that end goal? And it's not that I wasn't doing that. I just really wasn't thinking about it in a strict context like that. So what we do is, and if we look here at, this is a mind map program I got called XMind Zen. And you can download this and get the trial version at www.xmind.net. I just kind of use this because it looks a lot nicer than my handwriting. So I've been writing webs and mind maps on paper, and they're messy and they don't translate well on video. So I kind of produced this on this nice screen. But if you want it, you can download it for free and use it at that website you see on the screen. So what I do is I start with a class, intermediate TOEFL prep right there in the middle. And then I come up with my outcomes and I branch those off of the topic. And then what I do is I ask myself, okay, how am I going to know that they have met that outcome? All right. So I make a branch here and I have the assessment. Okay. So here it says ID, main idea, RP. These are some abbreviations that I use to keep it simple for myself. Identify the main idea in a reading passage. All right. So we go here. The assessment's going to be select the main idea in a reading passage in MC, multiple choice questions. It's going to be a multiple choice question. This is a TOEFL prep class, and the TOEFL has multiple choice questions. So I'm looking at doing it that way. So that's what my assessment's going to be. Well, how am I going to get there? Well, let's look at the different activities. Okay. So then I have another branch, the activities. We're going to have workbook practice. There's going to be individual workbook practice. We're going to do some TPS activities. That's my abbreviation for think, pair, share. That's where the student will work on something. Then I'll put them in groups of 2 and they'll talk about what they just did. And then they will report back to the class. It could be think, pair, share. It could be group work, whatever. And then sometimes we'll just have a class discussion where we'll sit around and we'll just talk about what was the answer in the workbook? Why did you put that there? All right. Other activities, of course, reading the textbook. I don't think I've emphasized this enough in my class. And this is one of the nice things about doing this is I kind of am looking at the different things that the students can do and what they need to do. And so I said, well, you know what? I really should tell them to read the book. Sometimes if you don't explicitly say read the book, you just assume they do, because when I was a student, I always read the book. Well, I didn't always read the book, but you know what I mean. Some deductive reasoning, where students will look at a problem and they'll have to try to figure it out without me explaining it to them. Of course, an explanation by the teacher. And subtopic 5 is just where I was going to put something else and I couldn't think of something else and I forgot to take that off before I put it on the video. Anyway, this is the first idea for you, and that is backward design. All right, let's look at the next idea. All right, the next idea is called interleaving. Interleaving is mixing it up. So instead of just sticking with one thing, and this is a problem that I've had with my grammar class, I think we've all had this with our grammar classes, we start with simple present tense and we work through the simple present tense and then we leave the simple present tense behind, right? Interleaving is the idea that you remember things better if you do a little something, you do something else, then you do a little something again, then you do something else again, and then you do something different, and then you do another thing, and then you come back to the first thing, and then you come back to the second thing, and then you go back to a new thing. So interleaving is mixing things up. And so I mix things up in a couple of different ways. And in my daily plan, in the TOEFL, there's a listening section, there's a structure and written expression section, and there's a reading section. And in each class, I do a little bit from each one. So we don't get bored just looking at, we're going to listen to the same kind of thing every day. We're going to read the same kind of thing every day. We're going to do the same kind of grammar. But we do a little bit from each one. But then what's important is also in the practice to mix things up within the practice. So for instance, looking at structure, if I pull that out, we'll learn several different structure problems that they have on the TOEFL. So if we look at this, I might give them an exercise with many different kinds of structure problems, not just the same problem over and over again. All right. So if we look, the boys walks to school. Well, we see right here, we have a subject-verb agreement problem. Okay. But then we have the next one. The teacher is so bored that he makes everyone sleepy, right? Okay, now we have a participle problem that we've chosen the past participle. We should have chosen the present participle. We should have said the teacher is so boring, okay? Then we come to the next one. If you work hard, you can do anything. Okay, here we have an adverb clause at the beginning of the sentence. It needs a comma. If you work hard, comma, you can do anything. So notice, so 3 different kinds of problems here. I saw, which computer did you buy? Okay, so in this one, this is another new problem. I saw, which computer did you buy? And we have a word order problem in a relative clause. It should be, I saw which computer you bought. Okay. Then we come to the next one. The boss talked to me in my office every day. Now we're back to the subject-verb agreement problem. All right. And maybe I should have put this maybe a little earlier. Just we want something and then we want to think about something else. But now we're coming back to the subject-verb agreement. He was injuring during the fire. Here's another participle problem. Okay. He was injured during the fire. All right. So that goes back to the second one. Everyone were here. Okay. Now we have another subject verb agreement with a pronoun. Okay. Everyone was here. So you can see I'm mixing it up. It's not all subject verb agreement problems, but it's subject verb agreement. It's choosing a participle. It's adverb clauses. All right. So this is interleaving. This is mixing it up. Okay. So that was backward design and interleaving in part 1 of our video. Part 2 of our video, we are going to look at spaced learning, and I'm going to show you some of the things that I'm doing with my syllabus. If you want to email me, my email is, where's it? All right. thomas.rowe@tulsacc.edu. So just go ahead, send me an email, and I will be happy to answer any of your questions, or you can call me. You guys have my number. So that concludes our first. One quick correction. I said in the video that I took an instructional design course in the summer. It was a curriculum design course. I want to make sure. I always like to admit my mistakes and show my students that I too am a learner. I make mistakes. Making mistakes is part of being human. It's part of the learning process. And so that is very important to me, even if I make a little mistake like that. Teachers aren't infallible, even though some of my teachers probably would have wanted me to believe that that was the case in their case. So I'll see you in part 2, in part 2, what will we discuss? In part 2, we're going to discuss syllabus, some of the things I'm doing with my syllabus, and we will discuss spaced learning. So join me for part 2. Take care.